Welcome to today's show, homies. Oh, this is one of my favorite episodes. Every year as we head to the holidays, I drop an episode to help first-time home buyers find a way to beat the system. And today, I've got some really exciting new data for you and also some really cool new ways to help you achieve the dream of home ownership. Let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What is up and greetings, How to Buy a Homies, as in season's greetings. I'm David Sidoni. I'm wearing my Snow Miser t-shirt today because this is a very, very special How to Buy a Home annual podcast that I do on down payment assistance. Over the years, I've had a lot of homies tell me that they binge the podcast when they're traveling home for Thanksgiving break. So let me give you an early Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa gift from me to you, because I know that for some of you, Thanksgiving can be a mental health cornucopia of tension. So I hope this gift from me on down payment assistance helps. First, I'm going to give you a very short market update. The full information I dropped on what's happening at the end of 2025 and going into 2026 just 3 episodes ago. But here's the thing. Even since then, there's new data that's dropped. And after I give you that, that's when I'm going to go into my annual secret down payment assistance. And this is something you're not going to hear anywhere else except right here. So the episode's going to be jam-packed with tips and data, but we're also going to have some fun today. And if you're brand new to the show, maybe you want to go to the comprehensive how-to for buying your first home. That starts at episode 400. It says, start here right on the thumbnail when you're scrolling. That's where you begin the 10 steps. It's the #1 trusted first-time home buyer beginner program in the entire country. But for those of you regulars, let's get into it. Let me start you with a quick little update on things. What's happening in the housing market and the economy in our country? Well, since I left you 3 episodes ago, pretty much one thing: fear. Uncertainty creates fear. And right now, we've got a bunch of people that don't know what's going on and are in no position to figure out where things are going to go. Confidence right now in our government, in our economy, and in the housing markets, they're at all-time lows. So what's my present to you? What kind of gift could I possibly give you at a time like this? Well, to let you know that fear can be your ally. Informed consumers always outperform emotional ones. For years, I've been quoting the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. Now, he's one of the richest men in the world. And if you haven't heard of him, it's because he's not flashy. He could buy and sell entire countries, but he still lives in his humble house, the first one that he bought in Omaha, Nebraska in 1958 for $31,500. He has a quote that's never been more relevant when it comes to the uncertainty in today's housing market. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. So 3 episodes ago, episode 418, I gave you the full market update, giving you the predictions and the forecast for 2026. And what most people see is not a crash, not even a correction. It's going to be chugging along the same way we did this year with some slow growth numbers, and anticipating in the spring and summer things are going to pick up. But here's where the fear comes in. The latest Lending Tree survey, almost 2 out of 3 Americans said they think a recession is coming. 74% of respondents said that is having an impact on their big financial decisions. Yet, according to an October report from the Wall Street Journal, only 1 in 3 economists, only 1 in 3 think that we're headed for a recession sometime in the next 12 months. And here's some more of the headlines that have happened in just the last week or so. First up, the buyer's market has now reached record levels. The October numbers are in, and it brought the strongest buyer's market that we've seen in 12 years. There are still 37% more sellers than buyers this fall, and the last time that there was a stronger buyer's market than this one was immediately after the 2008 financial crisis, when things fell off a cliff. In October, we saw existing home sales increasing by 1.2% month over month and 1.7% over last year. And inventory was up 10.9% from October 2024. That's totally unusual. October is when we usually start to slow down. So that means the informed buyers out there are taking advantage of the fear and the winter window of opportunity before things heat up next spring. Realtor.com chief economist Daniel Hale she said that mortgage rates were responsible for the uptick in the sales, hanging around 6.3%, down 6.8% for the first half of 2025. So this shift brought more home buyers in October, especially the first-timers, with this group accounting for 32% of the October home sales. That's incredible. And that's up from last October when the first-time home buyers were 27% of October home sales. And that 32% for October, that is way above the estimate they think for the entire year. They're saying they think first-time home buyers are only going to be 21% of the home buyers for the entire year of 2025, yet they really got a jump on it in October. So right now, looks like it's a really good time to get in, or at least to kickstart your planning for early 2026, because a lot of buyers out there, they've already beaten you to the punch. And the chief economist from the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yun, he's forecasting a median price increase of 4% next year, which is going to be 1% higher than about the 3% gain we had this year. And he's also predicting a 14% growth in the total number of homes sold. And that is without a giant change in rates, because they're expecting NAR and Lawrence Yun about a 6% mortgage rate settling right around there. So overall, 2025, up to October, it was a year of fear and misinformation for first-time home buyers. The numbers, like I said, super low. 21% of the total year is what's expected. That's the lowest level since 1981. And of course, I've told you about the average age. It's a ridiculous 40 years old. That's a crime. Not that people aren't actually able to afford it. It's a crime that the entire real estate industry isn't explaining to people that you can afford it. You just have different options. I've interviewed people all year long in their early 20s, people right here who came on the podcast who, once they got the right coaching, guidance, and expertise, they discovered they had options. They ignored all this fearful misinformation, and now they're living as confident homeowners. Well, I want to get more stories like this in 2026. So for those of you in the car or on a train or on a plane right now heading to see your family, it's time for my annual holiday helper. The number of first-time home buyers that received financial help recently, that's at an all-time high. And for many of you, this could be your only option to get you into home ownership quickly before the spring and summer run-up. For others of you, maybe this will be that little extra that you need to get in sooner to help get you over the hump, that final piece of saving that you need before the winter thaw and the bidding war start happening everywhere. If you're a new listener, let me dispel the myth for you. You absolutely 100% do not need 20% down to buy a home. That is totally wrong. The average down payment for first-time home buyers in 2025 was only 10%, but most of the people that we talk to here at How to Buy a Home, they're using 3%, 3.5% down, or 5% down. All those programs are available. And in fact, many of them using the USDA or the VA loan for the military people, they're getting in with zero down. So as you head into the Thanksgiving table, I'm going to give you some scripts with facts and data to assist you in, well, let's call it begging your family for some help. Yep, that's the secret down payment assistance program. Asking your family for a little help so you can do #adulting. And I'm going to arm you with all the data so you could show them you know what you're talking about and what you're asking for is a really smart decision. But before I do that, I do want to take a moment to speak to all of you who do not have this option. People who don't have family to ask money for. You guys, you're my survivors. I want you to know this is not an elitist podcast. The goal with everything that I've been doing at How to Buy a Home is to level the playing field for everyone. This is a how-to podcast for all. The revolution, it's to change the game for everybody out there. And some of you might not have friends or family to help you out, but you know what you do have? You got me. And you have the stories of others like you. I mean, there are so many different interviews out there with amazing people who did this all on their own with the guidance of a unicorn team, but without any help from family. People who were the first in their entire family, the first generation to ever not be a renter, to ever own a home. And you know what? Way back in episode 239, Isaiah discovered this great financial hack that your friends and family can give you without them ever having to give you a dime. Isaiah's family couldn't give him any money, but they could give him a place to stay. So as they were saving up and they needed like $5,000 or $6,000 left, they got to the end of their lease. Rather than re-upping their lease, They packed everything up and they moved in with their mom and dad for 3 months and saved the rent that they would have paid, $2,000 a month. So at the end of 90 days, it's like their parents had given them $6,000 to buy a home. You may not have a family to ask for money, but you do have guidance from a professional who cares. And as one listener said about me, he's the boomer dad I never had. Yeah, once again, not a boomer. I'm Gen X, but I'll take the general sentiment. I want you to know, homies, I do love doing this episode every year because my advice comes straight from my heart. I've seen so many homies pull this off solo. So if you've got no one to assist you financially, I want to remind you, you're already my hero for listening to this. You're a doer. I'd bet on you 100 times more to be the type of person who follows the plan and makes home ownership happen for you sooner than the people who are lucky enough to have the option to ask for a gift from their family. You're here today. You're getting the information, you're working, you're studying, you're researching, and you're fighting. So I've got some quick tips for you guys, the people who have to do this solo. And of course, those of you who might be lucky enough to have a family that can help you out, you can listen to this too. There's tips in here for you, but I've got your meal ticket bonus tips after this. The first thing that all of you, that everybody can do as we come to the holiday season is slow your roll a little bit on buying gifts. Give yourself the gift of a fatter bank account. Life comes in seasons. And if you're listening to this, you're in what we call a sacrifice and save season. So your friends will understand. Give gifts of experiences this year. Take your whole squad and go see Christmas lights. I mean, if you drive, the gas alone is one hell of a present to everybody. Find a cheesy holiday show that you can go to. There's free ones all over the place. Grab your crew and go volunteer at a homeless shelter or a nursing home and give back over the holidays. You can get everyone together and go caroling or make gingerbread houses with graham crackers and candy. You can binge old Christmas movies. I highly suggest The Year Without a Santa Claus. That's the t-shirt I'm wearing. And while we're in the gift-giving conversation, maybe tell your friends that you know what you want this year for presents? You'd like the gift of a down payment for Christmas. For real. Tell them you don't want a gift card or something crappy from the TikTok shop. Tell them you'd rather save for a down payment because you hate renting and it sucks. Another thing you can do is go back and listen to the How to Buy a Home financial preparation series. I'm redoing it right now, and I started it again at episode 415. If you only have yourself to count on, I get it. That's just like everything else you've had to do in your life. So get on those details. And if you've already listened, listen again, because you've likely made progress. And now you can zero in on some of the phases that you might have skimmed over before, but now you're totally ready for. This is easier than most of the stuff in your life that you've had to overcome to get to where you are right now. And I know that others like you have done this. Hell, I've guided many of them, and I've ended their renting forever. And finally, no matter where you are in the process, if you're flying without a net and you're at that point where you think, I think I could really progress with just a little guidance and advice. Cool. Go to howtobuyaHome.com and ask for help. Get the proper guide, a local professional that cares about you, that believes in you like I do. Make this your last lease ever and start the baby steps to your personal custom rent replacement strategy. The information for that is in episode 388 and 389. We'll put those in the show notes. Look, I know you probably don't like to ask for help, but this is a monster of a feat. And a great guide, they can help take all the scariness out of that monster and get you there years sooner than if you try to do this on your own. And the sooner you get on this, the sooner you won't make the same mistake that I did. I was such a coddled Orange County, California kid, and I was just waiting for the world to come to me. And I had a family to fall back on, so I always felt safe. Well, because of that, in my 20s, I just kept paying rent when I didn't have to, and I never got a guide that helped me make a plan. And at the end of it, when I was late 20s, early 30s, I look back on it and realize I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right, now for you privileged people, the people who have a family you can ask. I'm going to give you some stats that you can share with your family when you sit down at Thanksgiving. And for you do-it-yourselfers, these stats, they're for you too. They can help light a fire in your personal planning. Now, if you do have a family to talk to, I can tell you there are a lot of down payment assistance programs out there, but your best shot at $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, maybe 50 or 100 grand, it might not be a government program. It could be sitting right there at the table with you. Don't be scared about asking for this. I'm not kidding. Some parents have been waiting since your 18th birthday to hear you say anything responsible. You could be surprised with the result. So Every year I give you something to say. When you sit down at your Thanksgiving table, try saying this. Hey, Mom and Dad, I want to talk to you guys about something. I don't foresee my continued renting as a fiscally sound decision, despite the current high home prices as well as interest rates. Honestly, in the post-pandemic high inflationary era, the way the Fed has been pumping money into the system, even if we do end up going into a deeper recession, I expect it will be more in line with the traditional recessions. You know, the ones where housing outgains the losses in the market as one of the most stable shelters in the times of fluctuation. Homeownership is, after all, the greatest hedge against inflation or a recessionary downturn. And no matter what happens with the Trump tariff economy, getting a home as soon as possible would stabilize me financially for my retirement years. I mean, it's an excellent time to leverage my largest monthly wasted expense into an appreciating asset. And in preparation for this, I've been working to improve my credit score, my debt-to-income ratio, as well as developing a savings plan to put myself in the optimum position to create a rent replacement strategy that's going to set me up for a better dollar-for-dollar return on my investment in my later years. However, the fiscal bar for entry is rising every day due to the volatile mortgage market and, of course, the unexpected home price appreciation due to the supply and demand issue because we've got historically low inventory of homes for sale. And, of course, you guys know how challenging it is for younger people to grab their piece of the American dream before they're 40 years old. So, thanks. I'd really appreciate you guys helping out. And please pass Aunt Stephanie's cranberry surprise. It looks good this year. So go ahead, try that. See if they fall over at the Thanksgiving table. When they come to from knocking themselves unconscious on the floor, try dropping some of these other stats on them. Let them know that nearly 40% of recent home buyers under 30 years old, they actually relied on cash or inheritance from family for down payments. And make sure you let them know, the problem isn't the wage gap. It's that rents are surging much faster than wages. Now, for some of you out there, they're going to love this stat. So make sure you use that. You could tell them the crazy rent hikes started back in the 80s, but got really insane in 2000. For over 100 years leading up to the year 2000, rents were only going up like 3 to 4% annually, which kept right in line with inflation. So over an entire decade, they'd see 30 to 40% increase in rents. Like 1990 to 2000, rents increased 41%. But then 2000 to 2010, rents increased 83%. In 2010 to 2020, they were up 72%. And post-pandemic, the last 5 years were up 35 to 40% already. You can quote the Harvard stat from last year that showed that 12.1 million people are spending more than 50% of their income, half of their monthly take-home pay, on their rent payment. And then you can casually mention to them at only 0.11% of rental homes are rent controlled. And if the economy remains shaky, landlords are going to have no choice but to raise their rents or sell to someone else who's definitely going to raise the rents. And while you're talking to them, I really strongly encourage that you mix in a few personal things. Whatever they've been ragging on you about for years. Saving money, being responsible with your money, thinking about a rainy day, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that they have been telling you over and over again, I'm sure you can find a way to weave that into your adult financial assistance speech. And while you're doing that, use your own personal math. Show them how much rent you're going to spend over the next 1, 2, or 3 years. I bet they haven't done it. And I bet theirs was way less. And that annual number, if it's $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. If it's $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. And if there's anyone at the table who's talking about the crash, your crazy uncle who won't shut up about everything's going to go down like it did in 2008, just bust out the math for him. Let them know that it's basic supply and demand. Tell them we're 4 to 6 million units short. Thanks to, say it with me now, low inventory. Yet demand is at an all-time high. In fact, given the stats that I gave you at the top of the show about it's the hottest October since 2008, but the demand is there. So you can let them know, you know what, if there was a 15% drop in home prices, and that's a big old drop, on a $400,000 home, that'd be $60,000. So if you wait for prices to drop 15% for 3 years, and you're in a $2,000 a month apartment, $24,000 over 3 years is $72,000 you spent on rent to just save $60,000. Putting it all together like that is a math that a lot of times they don't think about. If you've got some time before you see them, listen to the episodes on house hacking with roommates and see if they'll co-sign on maybe a duplex or someplace that's big enough for you to have extra rooms so your roommates can help pay your rent. We'll put those episodes in the show notes as well. Make sure you let them know that you really believe that the only way to secure your financial future in these uncertain times is by being a property owner. And if you want to, show them how serious you are. I say this all the time, and people laugh at me. This would be the surest way to get a gift from your parents. Let them know that you realize you've got a new car last year. It's got a $400 a month car payment. And $400 a month in your debt to income ratio, that equals $50,000 of purchasing power. So you're going to sell your new car, take the cash from it, and buy a used car so you can have $50,000 more purchasing power in your debt to income ratio and your loan approval. If you seriously did that, I am pretty sure that they would know that you're serious. You want to show them you're serious? Do this. Open a savings account. You can do it before you get there while you're traveling. Just tell them that is your specific down payment savings account. And all you want for Christmas is contributions to that. And if they already bought you something, tell them seriously they should return it and take the cash and put it in your down payment savings account. That'll let them know that you are not joking about this. And I have had people that have actually done this. At the Thanksgiving table, they said, hey guys, can we start a GoFundMe and just send it to all our relatives? I'll make a video explaining what I'm doing and post it there. And then let the relatives, if they want to kick in this holiday season to help us with our down payment, great. If you do that, you could show them you are legit serious. And here's another thing you could try. Go to howtobuyahome.com if you want some bullet points. You can use the printer in their house because I bet you they still have one. And you can print out the highlights from the different How to Buy a Home podcasts or from the How to Buy a Home YouTube videos. And then ask your dad for a highlighter. I'm pretty sure he has like 47 different kinds and all different colors. And then highlight the bullet points about how you do this, the adulting, the math, the rent replacement strategy. Maybe even highlight some of my corny dad jokes. He might like those. And if you're really a fortunate person and you've got parents or grandparents that are planning on leaving you some kind of inheritance later in life, and you've already had that discussion, explain to them that you've looked at the data and you know that their generation has more wealth than any previous generation. The equity position of the boomers right now, it's unreal. The average American has over $300,000 in equity in their home. So instead of them waiting to give you an inheritance later on after people die, maybe they could help you right now and get you into the safe wealth builder of home ownership. Ask them to tap into your inheritance fund early, or maybe tap into their home equity to assist with the down payment so you can get out of the rent rut and not rent until you are 40 years old like the rest of the country's doing. Let them know that stat. I mean, think about it. If you're 30 years old and you're renting for $2,000 a month and you can't buy until you're 40, that's $240,000 of a decade in renting. But if they help you out with $50,000, $20,000, $10,000, even $5,000, you could save $240,000. And by the way, that number is really low because it calculates the same fixed rent for the next 10 years, which we know is not going to happen. It's going to go up and up and up. So it's going to be more than $240,000. Not to mention, it doesn't include the equity that you'll be building and the principal that you're going to be paying down on the home with the rent that you're already paying to somebody else. Seriously, a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 gift for them today in 10 years, it could net you over $500,000. And if you got people in your family who don't want to hear the math, just say, Mom, Dad, if you guys help us out a little bit this year, you get Grandma and Grandpa to help us out, we'll hold Thanksgiving in our house next year and you don't have to cook. Sometimes that'll really put you over the top. And finally, the best suck up to parents is letting them know that you give a damn about your credit score. Explain to them that you understand that a great credit score is the key to getting a lower mortgage rate, as well as lower fees, as well as better loan programs. And you learned about the greatest credit score secret that no one's talking about. Go to the printer, go find it again. I'm sure they've got one, and print out the Google credit score. Go to the printer. Again, I'm sure they've got one somewhere. Google the credit score wheel I've told you about in the credit episodes. Print it out. It's the pie chart, and that's going to show the credit score calculation breakdown. And one of those slices of pie, that's going to be the length of your credit history. And tell them, Boomer, I'm 22 years old. I have only been able legally to accrue credit for the last 4 years. So the system is rigged against me. But because I finally started to understand all those times that you talked to me about being a responsible person, between my keg stands and beer pong when I was in college, I have learned about something called an authorized user. It's the most underutilized, yet most efficient and fastest way to gain credit history, thus increasing that piece of the pie and increasing my credit score dramatically, which I told you guys is going to lower my mortgage interest rate as well as give me better options. So can you or Uncle Irving or Meemaw Betty hook me up and make me an authorized user so I can start being a real adult? And then, by the way, if they ask you where you're getting all this data, tell them that 82% of statistics are often made up on the spot. Or, of course, you can tell them that you're getting stuff from the National Multifamily Housing Council, the National Bureau of Economic Research, the IGM Chicago Forum, the United States Census Bureau, the National Association of Realtors, the World Property Journal, Mortgage Reports, Wall Street Journal, Inman Forbes, Apartment List, My Move, Value Penguin, Down Payment Resources, Keeping Current Matters, Zillow, Redfin, iProperty Management, US News, Forbes, and the How to Buy a Home podcast. And when it's time for pie, when the whole family's sitting there stuffed, not only can you remind them about the credit score wheel and the slice of pie for your credit history and the authorized user, you could also do this. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense, but emotionally, it gets the right message across. Ask them for a 40% smaller piece of pie than them. And when they go, what? You say, just, 40% less. Well, why? Oh, because homeowners, they're 40 times wealthier than renters. So that's a good little reminder for us. So that's the tips on how to beg at Thanksgiving. Now let's jump back for tips for everybody. Things that you can do if you might get lucky enough to get some help, but things that everybody else can do, even if your family isn't going to help you and you need to do this all on your own. First and foremost, my producer JT is going to hate this, but I do need everyone to understand and believe in the math. The fear headlines, they're going to keep coming this year. So you have to know confidently that this is the best decision. Buying a home yesterday was the best time you could have done it. You need to have the confidence that there's a simple formula for you to achieve home ownership with what most people fear is a crazy and difficult path. And then you can take a look at other places that you can diversify your portfolio for your retirement. We're talking about potentially even using your 401k. The episodes are 273, 163, 161, 135, and 113. JT, we'll put those in the show notes. Make sure that you're understanding what's going on with the down payments. I did tell you that 10% is the average. Most people are using 3.5, or 5%. But if PMI is something you're concerned about, go to episodes 198 and 216 because PMI is not the devil. It's so misunderstood. And there are tons of stories of real people just like you in the podcast archives. Check the episode guide and look at all the interviews. Real people telling their stories. We've got over 100 of them right now. People with no money. People who are in high cost of living areas and had to figure out how they could make it affordable. People moving from state to state. People with new jobs. People with 1099 incomes. People right out of college. We've got people with major student loans. There are single moms. There are couples. There are all kinds of stories with, like I said, over 100 different people. A lot of first-time home buyers that listen to those, they reach out to me and say, hearing the stories from real people really helped them to understand what's best for them and find their best tips, and most importantly, help them get over the fear. So however you do this, whether you're doing this on your own or maybe with a little help and assistance that you get at Turkey Table this year, just remember that with the right roadmap, you have options. So many more than I can even explain, and I have these statistics. Still, at the end of this year, one of the toughest years for first-time homebuyers ever, we're at almost 7 years here at How to Buy a Home. And at 72% is where we're sitting right now. 72% of first-time homebuyers that come in saying they're 12 to 18 months from buying a home, they suddenly find out that they're closer than they think. They get under contract in an average of, I think it's like 3.4 months, but they're under contract, closed, getting keys to their home in 4.2 months, not 12 to 18 months. And that's 72% of the people that say 12 to 18 months. I don't call it the last lease ever for nothing. For most of you, you are probably much, much closer than you think. It takes the right strategy to beat the rigged rent system. And it's not trying to time the market to get the most perfect affordability or waiting out interest rates to get some kind of killer discount. It's about creating your own rent replacement strategy that's going to build your personal wealth. So if you're commuting to your family or friends right now, you've got a list of episodes that you can binge that'll help inspire you. And I want all of you to know how much you actually inspire me. I mean that for real. I love doing this episode every year. It's a chance for me to kind of sit back and reflect. And I want to earnestly thank you all for being a part of this revolution and for sharing this podcast and helping grow this message, because we're helping more people get a fair shot at this important step. We're beating that average age of 40. We're getting people from $200,000 to $1.5, $1.8 million. We're helping people find ways to buy those homes that unfortunately is just not common knowledge. I'm so grateful that this podcast has worked for so many of you. It's completely changed my path in my world and helped me realize I can help empower a new generation. I was getting pretty slimy in real estate. I was doing my best to stay above it, but boy, they do a lot of stuff to try to pull you down. So thanks to you. And you get to watch the revolution in full swing. You got a front row seat. So for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever it is you celebrate at this time of the year, I hope you get the gift of a unicorn real estate team to guide you to a home so that by next holiday season, you can be celebrating in your place. May your holidays be filled with abundance, joy, happiness, and the confidence to know you can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuy.com to get started.